Assalamualaikum
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baiklah, kami dari kelompok 4 akan menampilkan sebuah video tentang pemeriksaan enterobakteri positif, negatif, dan hemofilus.
Prosedur pengujian enterobakteri C dalam makanan. Perlengkapannya adalah pertama, kontak dye ETB, ya. Kedua, blender, timbangan digital, air salin, plastik steril, pipet steril, sendok steril, dan sampel makanan. Pertama, buatlah 10% B/P homogen makanan. Misalnya 25 gram sampel makanan dengan 225 ml air salin. Kemudian di blender. Disarankan proses pemblenderan selama 2 menit pada kecepatan 8000 rpm. Sebelumnya kita persiapkan untuk homogen makanan. Kita timbang sebesar 25 gram sampel makanan. Sebelumnya kita nyalakan timbangannya, lalu kita timbang untuk berat plastik tersebut. Atau kita tarakan agar nilai plastik tersebut 00. Oke, kita timbang. Untuk plastik ini beratnya 4,57 gram. Kita tarakan agar menjadi 0. Oke, sudah 00. Lalu sampel makanan kita timbang. Mudah-mudahan beratnya cukup, seberat 25 gram. Oke, berarti sudah mencapai 25 gram. Kemudian kita siapkan air salin sebanyak 225 ml untuk dimasukkan ke dalam blender. Oke, kita siapkan. Oke, siapkan blendernya. Masukkan air salin banyak 225 ml. Oke, untuk balik dulu. Kemudian kita siapkan untuk blendernya. Kemudian kita blender. Proses pemblending selama 2 menit disarankan pada RPM 8000. Pertama, menyalakan. Setelah 2 menit kita blender untuk homogen makanan. Kemudian kita siapkan untuk compact dye ETB. Kita ambil secukupnya. Siapkan. Letakkan compact D tersebut pada permukaan yang datar. Kemudian kita siapkan pipet. Kemudian kita transfer untuk homogen makanan tadi ke dalam ruang compact D ini. Oke. Bisa dinamakan untuk sampel makanan ini pada pengujian yang kita lakukan pada bagian compact D. Kita buka penutup blender ini. Kemudian kita ambil pipet steril, masukkan ke dalam compact D sebanyak 1 ml. Ambil 1 ml. Oke. Kemudian kita masukkan ke dalam ke bagian tengah 1 ml dalam compact D. Tutuplah kembali. Kemudian balikan flat dan diinkubasi pada suhu 30 derajat Celcius plus minus 1 derajat Celcius selama 24 jam, kurang lebih 2 jam. Hitunglah jumlah koloni berwarna merah atau ungu yang terbentuk dari bagian belakang flat. Pemasangan kertas putih di bawah flat akan memudahkan perhitungan. Contoh gambar koloni ditampilkan pada gambar di bawah ini. Oke, kita masukkan dalam inkubator. Kita lihat suhu pada inkubator apakah telah mencapai 37 derajat Celcius. Oke, bila sudah kita masukkan. Kemudian kita tunggu selama 24 jam plus minus 2 jam untuk mendapatkan jumlah Enterobakteri C dalam 1 gram sampel makanan. Dilakukan sebagai berikut. Sampel makanan 25 gram ditambah 225 ml air salin atau 10% homogen makanan dibagi jumlah Enterobakteri C per gram sampel makanan dalam CFU per gram sampel makanan sama dengan jumlah koloni Enterobakteri C yang terbentuk pada flat dikali 250 per 25. Demikian prosedur pengujian Enterobakteri C dalam makanan. Sekian dan terima kasih.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Clark, and I am an assistant instructor in the Medical Laboratory Science program at BCIT, and I specifically teach into the microbiology course. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to work through a sputum culture that's been identified as having Haemophilus influenzae. So let's get started. The first thing I do is put the plates side by side in front of me. And I always lift up the blood and the chocolate side by side. And that's to compare the growth requirements. Remember that Haemophilus requires enriched conditions, not only the media but the CO2. And it doesn't grow well on a blood agar plate without the help of a staph streak. So side by side, you should be able to determine if there's a colony growing in abundance on the chocolate plate that you don't see in similar size on the blood plate. When I look at these two plates, I see this colony right here It's a medium-sized gray or tan colony that's growing in the at least as a +3 amount of growth. When I look on the blood agar plate, I don't see anything that looks like that medium-sized colony, tan gray. The only things I see mostly on that plate are alpha hemolytic organisms and some non-hemolytic organisms. Now, if I was suspicious about any of those alpha hemolytic organisms being a possible concave or more wet-looking colony, I would at least do a colony smear today. If it's showing gram-positive cocci in very pleomorphic forms, I would probably assume it's going to be a viridans, and I wouldn't do anything with that colony. So when I'm correlating the growth between the plates, that gray tan colony is not on the blood, it's present in good amounts on the chocolate. There's no growth on the MAC, so I'm going to assume that that colony on my chocolate could be Haemophilus. And I start with touching the colony that I will have circled, just barely touching it, delivering it to the plate, and then streaking in 4 directions for isolation. It's important not to over-inoculate this plate, so I'm going to flip my loop to do quadrants 3 and 4. The staph streak is just barely touched as well with your loop. And I'm going to show you the X style, where we put 2 lines across the plate, making 4 sections of a pie. Making sure you get the staph streak through the quadrants. That plate gets incubated in CO2. The next test to do is the porphyrin with a chocolate plate purity plate. Porphyrin can be inoculated with a swab. It has to be a heavy growth. So you do need to take a few colonies. When you're using a swab, be very careful that you don't touch any other colonies on the plate that don't look like the Haemophilus colony. The porphyrin has to be milky, a skim milk consistency. So that should be fine. And that goes into ambient. And take a loop full of that porphyrin substrate. And I inoculate the chocolate purity plate. And streak 4 ways to get isolation. In this case, I'm going to use the 2-loop method because the porphyrin tube is very heavy and I want to get isolated colonies to prove that my ALA is pure. And just as my paper is documented, it goes into CO2. The last test we would do is the Kirby-Bauer. It's done on an HTM plate and put into CO2. And for purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to show how to set that up. Okay, so to read the porphyrin tests, we have to be in a dark room. So we're in the incubator, and the UV light is turned on and placed close to the tubes. You don't want to have the UV light, of course, pointing at you, your hand or your eyes. And you'll see that the QC positive is fluorescing a nice pink color. The QC negative is unchanged. My unknown porphyrin is also unchanged. So based on these results, the unknown is read as porphyrin negative. So a negative porphyrin, a BAP staph streak that shows non-heme satelliting, is equal to Haemophilus influenza.